Hello. So I wrote this essay back in March of 2024, and I named it Emails I Can't Send is the Epitome of 20s Pop. And now that Sabrina Carpenter has a lot more attention around her new album, I thought that title was irrelevant now. And now this video is meant to analyze and explore how Sabrina Carpenter's album Emails I Can't Send plays with your emotions, and how her cleverness goes past just the lyrics. Emails I Can't Send debuted in 2022, and she gained a lot of popularity from her witty nonsense outros during Taylor Swift's Eras tour. In this essay, I briefly analyze each of the songs on Emails I Can't Send to show how Sabrina Carpenter uses chord progressions and key modulations through her music along with her lyrics. Let's start with key terms. Applied chords are added to create a temporary tonic using some chord that is outside the home key. Temporary tonicization is used to sound as if it is the tonic of the song. A perfect cadence is a chord progression of at least 2 chords that goes from the 5 chord to the 1 chord, creating a sense of finality in the music. This usually happens at the end of a song or the end of a chorus. Now we can go into the analysis of each song, starting with the title track, Emails I Can't Send. Although this song is in the key of D major, it has an F#7 chord that is not in that key. The reason this is used is because it is a 5 of 6 applied chord, where F#7 is the 5/7 chord of B minor, and B is the 6th note in the D major scale. This creates a major 5 to minor 1 moment that feels like a perfect cadence before we come back to the original key. So it's kind of a fake 5/1. In this song, there are 3 separate occasions in a single chord progression where a chord shifts down a perfect 5th. This chord progression is used to make the listener constantly feel a sense of finality. Since this is about ending a relationship, the constant perception of ending adds to the narrative. There is also a G minor chord that's sprinkled into the music every once in a while. The G minor chord is abrupt and meant to make the listener feel sad, the way that Carpenter is feeling as she reflects on her failed relationship. This song ends on the D major chord, which is the 1 chord of the song, making it once again feel very final. But when we move on to the next song, which is called Vicious, it creates a 5/1 cadence connecting the 2 songs together. Vicious starts on the G major chord and is in the G major key, which nicely connects the first 2 songs together with a perfect cadence. Vicious then ends on the D major chord, just like the last one, although this time it is the 5 chord of the current key, making the song feel not very finished, which encourages the listener to listen on into the album. This is the first instance of how this album is very much a concept album. It's meant to be listened to in full. The next song is called Read Your Mind. This song is in the key of D sharp minor. In the chorus, there's an A#7 chord used. This is not a part of the key. It's usually minor as well, but in this case, A sharp major is used over A sharp minor to create a stronger cadence when it goes back to the minor 1 chord. Now, this song is very interesting to me because in between the verse and the pre-chorus, you can hear the instrumentation kind of foreshadow what the chorus is going to be like. It has that melody of the chorus, but in the instrumentation. And because the song is called Read Your Mind, I feel like the foreshadowing is a little intentional. So listen to that, pay attention to in between the verse and pre-chorus and let me know what you think. Then the song ends on the minor 1 chord, wrapping the song up in a nice little bow. Feels very final. Then we get to the next song in the album, which is called Tornado Warnings. This starts on almost the same chord as a previous song, except it's in the major key now. So this song, Tornado Warnings, is in D sharp major, while the last one was in D sharp minor. This song is very simple in the instrumentation and chord progression. It constantly switches between the major 1 chord and the major 4 chord without using any other chords either in the key or outside of the key. Now, this song does something similar to what Vicious does, where it ends on a non-tonic chord, non-tonic note, except it ends on a 4 chord instead of a 5 chord, which leaves it feeling even more unfinished than when Vicious did that. This is because the 4 chord is a weaker chord in the scheme of the whole key. When it's constantly switching between these 2 chords, you feel as if the song will never end. There is no sense of finality, there is no sense of start or beginning until it just abruptly ends on the 4 chord. It's kind of the point. Now, because I Like the Boy might be my personal favorite, but I'm unsure about my analysis on this one, okay? So if you think of something else, let me know. I would love to hear it, but this is how I heard it and this is how I read it as a chord progression. It starts in B mixolydian. I think the verses are in B mixolydian, and then I think that it modulates to E major in the chorus and bridge. Even with all these key changes, Carpenter still adds in a few chords that are not in either of these modes or keys. In the verses, instead of the F sharp minor chord that's supposed to be used when you look at the scale, it is replaced with an F sharp major chord to create a strong perfect cadence as the chord progression circles back to the major 1 chord. There's also an A sharp major chord thrown into the verse. Since A sharp major is not within the bounds of B mixolydian, it creates an uneasy feeling, or unexpected even. In the bridge, there's a G minor chord that is turned into a G major chord, changing the minor 3 to a major 3. And then there's also an E major and an E minor chord that come one after another multiple times in this song. Having a major then a minor that have the same tonic one after another creates kind of an eerie feeling. And because the song ends on the E minor chord, it leaves the song feeling very ambiguous. The multiple types of chord changes and the different chords that she uses that are not in the key that she's set make this song very interesting to me. She has so many complicated feelings about this topic that she's singing about, how she's getting death threats and being called a slut just because she liked a boy. It's supposed to feel very complicated, and that is expressed in the chord progression as well as the lyrics. Already Over is the next song in the album. This song is in the key of A major. It mainly alternates between the major 5 and the major 1 chords, with an occasional addition of the minor 3 chord. There's also a mysterious B major chord added into the bridge and the outro. B major is the major 5 chord of the key of E major, which is the 5 chord of A major, making this whole mysterious B major chord not so mysterious. It's actually a 5 of 5 applied chord. And even though it's technically not in the key, it doesn't feel very far off from the rest of the song because it feels like it's serving the same purpose as just another 5 chord. The rotation between the multiple sets of major 1 and major 5 chords creates a constant sense of completeness. This continual progression could end at any moment, hence the title name, Already Over. Next song is How Many Things. This is in the key of E major. Throughout the song, some minor chords turn major and some major chords turn minor. She's done this a few times already before, but it creates a very unsettling feeling. It's something that the listener is not exactly expecting. Even if they're not thinking that, it's a sound they were not expecting to come next because it is out of the realm of what is usually heard, especially in Western pop. This song is about how everything Carpenter thinks of reminds her of her ex, and how she wonders how many things it takes for her ex to think of her as well. As she goes about the song, she recalls different aspects of the relationship, which is obviously a very bittersweet feeling. It's sad to think back at a relationship that you miss, and she expresses this in the chords that she's using. So she has bittersweet memories associated with this person, which correlates to the inconsistency and ambiguity in the chord qualities. She's not sure how she's supposed to feel about it. Ending on the major 5 chord, then continuing to have a vocal line after that, leaves a sense of uncertainty and vagueness in her question of how many things. The next song is called Bet You Wanna. This song is in B minor. The instrumental and vocal lines are supposed to feel very promiscuous and mysterious. In the bridge, a single C sharp minor chord is played, which is the minor 2 chord instead of the major 2 chord. Because of the same 5 chords rolling through the entire song, a consistency is established, which makes this C-sharp minor chord stand out. This constructs a moment of vulnerability for Carpenter. Even after her lyrics about how she bets her ex wants to get back with her, this minor chord makes it seem like she's not so sure. As the song comes to an end, the final lyric, "Bet you wanna love me now," is accentuated by the minor 4 chord, signaling a resolution in the lyrics, but still leaving a lingering uncertainty in the instrumentation. The next song, "Nonsense," is in C-sharp major, but there are 2 chords, the C7 and the F minor chord, that are strangers to this key signature. Since these 2 chords are embedded within the final chord progression that goes throughout the entire song, it could be interpreted as musical gibberish. Just stay with me for a second, okay? Because the key is supposed to be in C-sharp major, but the chord progression has 2 chords that are not in this key, seems a bit wonky. And the idea of musical gibberish echoes the song's theme of talking nonsense. It ends on the major 4 chord, leaving room for her goofy 2000s-esque outro. The next song is called Fast Times. This song is in E minor in the verse, then it modulates to C-sharp minor in the chorus and bridge. The verse here has an almost jazz-like riff to it, happening underneath the simple vocal line, then adds a soft pop feel to the chorus and bridge. It then ends on the major 6 chord of C-sharp minor. Kind of weird. We then move on to the song called Skinny Dipping, which is in the key of E major. This song also alternates between the 1 and the major 4 chords throughout the whole song. I'm seeing a bit of a theme here, Sabrina. This gives the song a feeling of an ongoing conversation, or as Carpenter describes it, nonsensical chatter. Throughout the verses, she tells the story of her chance encounter with her ex at a coffee shop, followed by what seems to be a pleasant chat. This is infused into the musical choices within this song through Carpenter's sing-talking technique and the simplicity and consistency of the chord progression. The limited harmonies, expressed by the only 2 chords in the whole song, mirror the dynamic of a conversation as well, going back and forth between 2 people, with the chords themselves seeming to engage in a dialogue. It ends on the major 4 chord, leaving the listener trying to fill in the rest of the story on their own. The next song is called Bad for Business. This is in the key of G major. The choruses contain a C-sharp minor chord, which is, say it with me, not a part of the G major key. Who saw that coming? This chord change happens as Carpenter sings, "All of my friends think I've gone crazy." This unexpected chord adds to the craziness that the song is trying to show. It ends on the major 4 once again, leaving an ominous feeling for the listener. The last song is called Decode. This is in the key of E major. Although this song wraps up the entirety of the album very well by ending on the major 1 chord, the end of each chorus finishes in an F sharp minor chord, the minor 2 of the key. This chord aligns with "There's nothing left here to decode." This makes it sound like there's a discrepancy between the lyrics and the instrumentation. Because the chorus does not end on a final chord, it leaves a sense of uncertainty in Carpenter's seemingly confident words. But maybe I am just overanalyzing it, and there actually is nothing left here to decode. Who knows? Through an analysis of each track, it's been shown that Carpenter uses chord progressions and key modulations to emphasize her points in her lyrical themes and create a cohesive musical narrative. Her habit of ending songs on a chord that is not the 1 chord adds a bit of intrigue to her songs, leaving the listeners wanting more, which is why I think that this is a concept album and is meant to be listened to in full. So yeah, that's all I have for emails I can't send. Maybe I will do a little video on the extra songs she added to the full version with Feather and other pieces. At the moment, that's all I have left to decode. Bye. Actually, don't go yet. While I was watching all the music videos for this album, I noticed that there is a bit of a connection between 2 of them. In the Fast Times music video, there's a moment where Sabrina Carpenter punches the glass wall and it shatters everywhere. And then in the Because I Liked a Boy music video, she is surrounded by shattering glass. So I'm not going to analyze that, but I did want to point it out because I thought it was super cool. Now, goodbye.